Here, I'd like to welcome everybody into another episode of Sideline Chatter. We're here on a nice Thursday night. Got a Feast or Famine episode coming up for the game Sunday. Here with James Albertson, the monster himself. How's it going?
Doing all right. Trying to get my hands on this PS5, but ain't proving too well so far.
Both of us.
But that's the only thing on my mind on this Thursday. I don't got no players in tonight's game, unfortunately. But we'll see. How you doing, bro?
Trying to get this PS5 as well. We got it's 5:08 right now, so we got 52 minutes to finish this episode.
Yeah, I heard it. Fuck up.
But I was gonna say the last two videos didn't have videos. You know, with us, we having these video difficulties, audio. We're trying to eliminate that buzz noise that y'all hear in the videos and stuff. So we want a different approach this time. And we want to see how this works, but hopefully it's good. At least we got the video up this time. So
yeah.
But all right, let's get into it. So we got two feasts and famines each of the QBs, running backs, and receivers for the week. So people who expect to do good in their matchups and some that might flop. So without further ado, we're gonna start with some quarterbacks. Who you got as your first feast?
Got your boy Deshaun Watson playing in Cleveland this week. He's averaged 300 yards over his last 5 games, which is really insane. They're coming out of a bye week, so usually teams tend to do better when they come out of a bye week. The Browns
are
defense,
coming out of a bye, I think.
Are they?
Yeah.
So all right, so it should be a good game then.
Right.
I think it could potentially be a shootout if
so
the Browns can keep up with the Texans. I think it's actually going to be a pretty good game. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, he's been honestly balling these last 5 games for me. I mean, I just got him another week, but he's had over, I think, 20 fantasy points in 5 straight games. So obviously he has a good floor now. Obviously, we mentioned before on the show with the Bill O'Brien firing, they look like a whole new offense. Throwing deep balls to Cooks, Fuller. You know, they have no running game. David Johnson may also miss the game.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, like you said, doesn't really have a good pass defense as well. So I think this has sneaky shootout appeal, like you said, because the Browns. Forgive me. The Houston don't have a good defense at all either. So
yeah.
I mean, I feel like Deshaun is obviously a guy you're playing anyway. But if he were on your bench, start him, or trade him if you have a better QB. But yeah, I agree with the Watson feast this week, definitely for sure. Next, we're gonna dive into another feast. We got Carson Wentz at the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been kind of up and down this year, taking some hot criticism from these Eagles fans. But last time they played, he had 375 total yards and also 3 TDs to go with that 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, I think you could see probably another repeat performance of this happening.
Yeah, I think this is a game that they win pretty easily because the Giants have just been really ass. Did they lose to the...
No, they beat them.
They beat the Redskins?
They should beat the Eagles too, low-key, but...
Yeah.
Evan Ingram
dropping wide open pass. But, yeah, I don't know. I think Wentz, he's getting some of his weapons back.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders supposed to be back, and if you want to consider him a weapon, Alshon Jeffrey is coming back. I think he stinks, but that's just me. But Giants have been pretty good, actually, fantasy-wise against quarterbacks, but like we said, Wentz just torched them 3 weeks ago, so I think he has another great game. He obviously just played really awful against the Cowboys somehow. But
yeah, that was bad.
Somehow he played bad. But they had a bye week. Again, another quarterback coming off a bye, so hopefully they figured some things out. But no, I think Wentz has a really good game this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time with all the weapons, I guess, except for Deshaun, but he ain't coming back, so.
Yeah,
Rager's there.
Guess we'll see what happens. Huh.
The people's champ Rager's there. Got, like you said, Jeffrey coming back and Sanders, so no more excuses for Wentz, really. So you got all your weapons of injury excuses out the door now. So, but we do expect a pretty good game from him. On to the famine. We have your boy, Lamar Jackson. I mean,
doesn't even make me upset to see him here anymore. Guy's not been playing well.
Nice.
If I had another option, I would be benching him this week, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So
you said the one kid, that one bull that
on Instagram, I forget his name.
Who was the backup? You said
Goff.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if you have a better option, I would absolutely bench Lamar this week. I think Patriots are always stingy, and he hasn't really. He's only thrown over 210 yards once this season, and it was week 1
Right.
against the
It's
Browns.
awful.
That's really bad. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
What else is? Oh, there's nothing else to say unless he proves that he can have another good game. He needs to throw the ball. He needs to throw the ball well.
Since the rushing hasn't been as good as last year.
Now he's saying on the NFL Network that other teams are calling out the plays at the line of scrimmage. Like, that's not what you want to hear out of your quarterback. That the other team knows what they're doing, especially when he's a running quarterback. But I think if you have a serviceable option against a quarterback who's playing a defense that's not good, that you probably wouldn't consider using, I think this is the week you got to pull the trigger and bench Lamar.
Yeah.
I think this is the week.
I have him in the 12-team league. I don't really have a better option. I think I have, I don't even know.
My backup is Matt Ryan. He's on a bye. So Wentz is on the free agents, so maybe I go pick up Wentz and use him. Maybe I take my own advice this week.
Are we telling the people Wentz over Jackson, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid.
Whether I do that, it's up to decision. But
right.
I think the argument could very well be made for Carson Wentz over Lamar Jackson this week.
Definitely can, because we're all obsessed with the Lamar name and all these plays, these running flashy plays, but hasn't been there this year. So I'm on the board with you. I think it's probably another down week for him. And then our next player is playing in tonight's game, the Colts and Titans. We have Ryan Tannehill. He's only gone over 250 yards twice, and the Colts are the third stingiest in passing yards, 206 a game, and they only up 20 points per game. And I feel like this has not a shootout.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna be really low scoring, just nasty, 17-14, 20-17 type game, really nasty. Again, we say this every week, I feel like. And last week we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with the hasty thing, but I think if you have the chances, if you have the means to avoid using someone on Thursday night, unless they're Derrick Henry and AJ Brown, maybe Corey Davis tonight, you should absolutely avoid them. I got it. It's just Thursday nights just never seem to be great games, high scoring games. Obviously last week Rodgers torched 49ers, but
you're starting.
You're using him exactly, and Adams using him exactly, but it's just a really nasty matchup. The Colts are a really good defense. Thursday night, I think that's enough reason to not use Tannehill. You probably have a equal or better option on your team, so I'll go with whoever that is.
He's under 60% completion percentage in the last 3 games as well.
Terrible.
I knew that was because every time I look at the bottom of the screen, I feel like he's always 9 for 18 or something in the middle of the game. What the hell's going on? But I think he benched Tannehill tonight. Moving on to the Feast running backs, we had 2 from the same team to bundle up here together. We got Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick of the Redskins at the Detroit Lions. The Lions are giving up the most points to running backs this season, and also the most rushing TDs. So I feel like, especially with Alex Smith playing quarterback now, the check down god,
I said literally this game is perfect for both of them.
Perfect, yeah.
They should maybe have a lead to the point where they get a rushing touchdown with Gibson, and I could also see it where it's within 1 possession where they have to throw the ball. And we have here, McKissick had 14 targets last week.
Yeah.
That's absurd for a running back.
Right.
14 targets.
9 catches.
PPR, I think you're absolutely using him this week.
Right.
Standard, maybe. Probably not, but...
Standard, you're probably going to go Gibson.
Yeah.
And then PPR.
McKissick, I think, is must start this week, I think. But both of them should eat. And like we said, Alex Smith is literally, the only thing he's ever been known for is checkdowns. Even when he was the number 1 pick, he never was really known to stretch the field.
Game manager.
He is a game manager. But we're all saying a prayer for his leg every time he steps on the field. I don't know. I think they both do good this week, though.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've been solid, both of them, too, the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, Gibson pretty much the whole year, and McKissick now has obviously had a bigger role in the offense ever since the last 3 or 4 games. So, 8 targets, 6 targets, then 2, and then 14. So, obviously the volume through the air is there. So PPR leagues, I think you play McKissick. And who you got else for Feast?
Surprised if you would have asked me a month ago, but got Leonard Fournette. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing at the Panthers. Fournette's been just steadily every single week more and more outplaying Ronald Jones, and I think this might be the week where they just give him the reins to the backfield, or at least try to give him the reins. Ronald Jones had the fumble, and he really hasn't. That was 2 weeks ago. He really hasn't
Yeah.
been the same since. He only had 3 touches last week, even though I know it was a blowout.
I think they ran the ball 4 times last week.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Jones had 3 touches for 9 yards last week, and Fournette had 6 catches by himself. So PPR, he's earned the passing down work. So I think PPR, he's absolutely must start this week. The Panthers are 5th most points to running backs this year, which is crazy. 12 rushing touchdowns, which is really insane. But I think Fournette has a really good game.
It seems like, well, the snap share percentage we have here, so against the Giants, week 8 he had 73%, and then last week against the Saints was 67%. I feel like, I don't know, when I watch the Bucs game, it's like, all right, Ronald Jones has like a drive or two to like do something, and if he doesn't, he just gets fucking yanked.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Which is a shame.
I kind of feel bad for him.
That is really sad.
I'm always watching the game. I look back to see if like Jones is ever back in. It's like Fournette the whole time.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty clear he's a passing back now. So, and he's still getting carries. He had 15 against the Giants, like I said. Last week was kind of like an anomaly with that game. But Fournette's the better player over Jones, which was not the case earlier this year. But things change. So
He is a more talented back.
That too, yeah.
But I guess it just took time for him to get his role in the offense, learn to play well.
So if you stash him the whole year, fucking Angelo Casciato, shout out to him. Stash him the whole year. It looks like it might pay off, and it should this week at least. We're moving on to the Famine running backs. We have a
recurring guest to the Famine.
We put him on here against the Bucs,
and it was spot on.
Spot on.
Yeah.
And take it away.
Josh Jacobs playing the Broncos, who are somehow they seem to suck every single season, but their run defense is always good.
Yeah.
Every single year. So shout out to the D-line
defense
coach
in general.
out there. Defense is always pretty good. But he struggled this year against good run defenses. He only had 48 yards against the Bills. He only had 17 yards against the Bucs. Yikes, which is really insane. 65 against the Chargers, which is still decent, I guess. Denver's giving up the 8th fewest points to running backs. They've only given up 6 touchdowns on the ground this year, which is 2nd in the NFL, which is really stingy, really crazy. A game where I think they actually have to throw more because the Broncos have been rolling.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think Jacobs has another nasty game, so he might find the end zone, but I don't see him getting over 50 yards. Yeah.
I don't like this one because, like against the Browns, he had 31 carries in that windy game or whatever, but, he hasn't done much with the carries this year. He scored some TDs, but
even the very first week of the season when he had that 3 touchdowns, he only had 85 yards.
Right.
It's good, but it's not like.
So he has been pretty much TD dependent this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we said this a couple times, you're probably starting him because you probably don't have better options. But beware on this one. He's only averaged 3.6 yards a carry in the year, which is 56 among running backs. Obviously for RB1, or some people consider a top 10 running back in real life, that's not good. But we're saying temper your expectations here. Don't expect a huge game from him, but you're starting him because you probably will get the volume. You just don't know.
He got outplayed last week by Booker too.
And Booker had that TD last week. I think they both scored, but yeah.
Nasty.
Yeah. Next we have this Bucs game. We have Mike Davis. McCaffrey is most likely going to be out, which a lot of you might think, all right, I'm going to plug Mike Davis back in. But they're playing the Bucs, who's first in the NFL on the defensive side in yards per carry. Kamara had 56 yards in 2 games combined against them. Aaron Jones, 15 yards. It's not an ideal matchup, obviously.
So, and like we said, Jacobs had 17 yards against the Bucs.
Yeah, and that.
So it's just.
If you're
really nasty.
in a PPR league,
I still think he's usable.
Yeah.
Just based off the volume.
Because I'm starting him in Jake's league.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 flex spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to use him pretty much because I don't have any better options. But on the ground, I don't think you should expect a lot from him. How do you feel about it?
No, I agree. Like I said, obviously, if McCaffrey were playing, you're using him because he's McCaffrey.
Right.
Even then, he would still probably not do that well. But because it's Mike Davis and not Christian McCaffrey, I think if it's a standard league, I think you can avoid him.
Yeah.
Unless you absolutely, unless you have McCaffrey and he's not playing and you have to use your handcuff, or if you don't have him like me when I have McCaffrey, because someone in your league takes every handcuff and just stashes him on their bench for no good reason.
9 bench spots.
But so yeah, maybe that's the argument. Maybe if you had less bench spots, you wouldn't be able to hold 7 handcuffs. But no, I think he definitely has a really nasty game running the ball. He has a really bad game.
Well, see, the thing is, like, when McCaffrey first got injured, he was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zion and Jake's league, it's 10 yards a point and a point per catch. And the Bears, he had 11 points. Next game, 8 points. Next game, 8 points. So it was kind of like
You're really
he's
doing
tailed
that
off.
good.
But like you said, I don't know. Don't really expect big things from him as well. And we try to put some bigger names on here so we're not too obvious with these. Try to put Josh Jacobs, like some good players on the Famine list.
And Davis has been like, I mean, obviously he's tailed off, but he had
Mm-hmm.
a couple really good games, so like
Right.
he's been a good replacement.
Jail cell. On to the receivers, our feast. Another duo in here. We have Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp of the Rams. They're playing the
Seahawks.
Yeah, these are two guys who are starting every week, but I think this week it's like you're really confident. And they obviously have a really juicy matchup against the Seahawks. 280 yards just to wide receivers.
Per game.
It's insane. Which is number one in the NFL by a lot. And the usage tree here really isn't that big. Like Josh Reynolds gets his occasional corny touchdowns or whatever, but like they're not really throwing the ball to anybody else besides Kupp and Woods. So.
Yeah, I think they're both gonna eat this week. Woods has like been on like an insane run. He scored in 6 out of the last 7 games. He scored a touchdown, and then he gets like the worst defense. So you would think that you have every reason to believe that carries over. Cooper Kupp, they had a bye last week. Before that, 21 targets in week 8.
Right.
Obviously, he's not gonna get 21 targets again. I don't think so. But he's gonna build off of that game. Again, couldn't have a better matchup. Again, I think Goff is a good streamer if you are in need of a quarterback this week.
Right.
But no, I think they both eat without question. Obviously, like you said, you're using them no matter what, but I think this is a week where they could potentially be week winners, either of them.
Yeah. I feel like this is a game too. Like they're usually a run first offense for the most part, but like I think they're actually gonna come out and throw the ball a lot. Because we've seen games in the past where Goff, they come out and they throw the ball a lot. So
Yeah.
against the Dolphins, they were down the whole game against the Dolphins, but I think what he had 63 attempts or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So they're not afraid to throw the ball. They don't like to throw the ball a lot, but in a plus matchup, they also I think their coaching staff's gonna realize it and they're gonna come out throwing a lot.
So we just said the same thing with the Bills. Like they usually don't try to throw the ball that much, and
Right.
they came out slinging against the Seahawks last
Right.
week. Just because I feel like in the NFL you have to be like you're good enough at both, or you should be, that you should be able to pick one or the other based off the defense. So I think the Rams, hopefully McVay, sees what everybody else boy genius, everybody else in the world can see is that you need to throw the ball against Seattle.
Mm-hmm. But now, obviously, start to end this week. Next up, we have a nice little. He had a great game last week. He's underperformed a little bit this year, but we have Jerry Jeudy against the Las Vegas Raiders. Last week, he had 7 catches, 125 yards, I believe, off the top of my head, and a touchdown.
Yes, correct.
He's kind of grown every week in his offense. Drew Lock's obviously back. That's helped because earlier in the year he had who do you have down to him? Friggin' Ripien and
Rippin? Yeah.
Ripien and
I don't know. Yeah, that might even be
the other dude. He started against the Jets. What was his name?
I don't know.
That random dude.
Drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
All right. But
damn, what is his name?
he's a nasty motherfucker.
I don't know. But Jerry Jeudy, his last 2 games, 24 targets, 11 catches, 198 yards, and a touchdown. It's really insane. They drafted him first round, obviously for a reason. He was banged up. I think that's part of the reason why he wasn't playing too well to start the season. Now that he's fully healthy and Drew Lock's back and healthy himself, they're actually just playing the way that I think they want to play, where they can throw the ball a bit more. But I think he has every reason to keep it moving this game against a Raiders team that is prone to give up a lot of points, I feel like. So I think Jeudy has a really good game this week.
Nothing to point out. Weeks 4, 6, and 7. They had a bye week 5. His snap share is 71%, 73, 78. In these last 2 weeks, they're 97 and 92.
Oh my god, you said snap share?
Yeah.
I thought you said target share. I literally was like, what? Like you're telling me this man had 92% of the target?
Yeah. He ran 50 routes last week and then 40 the week before that. So obviously they're looking to him more. And I think it's another good matchup, and I think you plan ride the hot hand here, as I think he'll pick it up towards the end of the season. Last but not least, we're going to roll to our Famine wide receivers. We got 2 pretty big names here.
Yeah.
First, we have Adam Thielen. Good old Adam Thielen.
Your boy.
White boy. At Chicago Monday night. So right off rip, you can tell it's
Just hearing at Chicago
Chicago's
is
not fun,
terrifying. But
5 catches for 55 yards over his last 2 games combined. You mentioned the Bears are a really good defense. Only allowed 200-yard games to receivers this year. And obviously we know they want to hand the ball to Dalvin Cook 3 billion times a game. So if you're asking me if I'm going to watch this game Monday night, I probably will, but it's not going to be a fun game.
so it's kind of two like bad offenses. Like like the Vikings handed off and they're a good running team, but like Cousins isn't good.
Yeah.
Cousins versus Nick Foles, like nobody wants to watch that.
And the only way the Vikings, I think, will ever throw the ball a lot again is if they have to. So, like, if their defense doesn't play good.
I don't think this is a game where they're going to have to.
Because the Bears aren't going to fucking score.
Yeah.
Nick Foles is going to have, the Bears are going to have 0 points going into the third quarter, like every other game. And, I don't know, Thielen and Jefferson